الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد. We continue reading Adab Ta'limihi, the chapter with regards to Adab Ta'limihi, yani the manners of the teacher while he's teaching and educating the students. In our previous class, the author he mentioned, rahimahullah ta'ala, that if sometimes some bad manners or some rudeness came from the student, then the teacher, he will overlook that, and he will bear that harm, and he will be patient with regards to that. But the people of knowledge, likewise, they mention if it's something that requires correction, along with that, he will correct them. He will bear their harm or their difficulty. But if sometimes some actions happen that were not proper or not correct, along with being patient and forbearing, he will not leave them upon that way. Rather, he will direct them and he will guide them. And he would advise them, and he would mention to them gently or kindly in the best manner that that's not proper, or that the proper way to do it is like this, so on and so forth. So along with being patient on those shortcomings, likewise, he would direct them and guide them whenever they need direction and guidance, and he will not leave them in error. He will not leave them in error. So he says, وَيَنْبَغِي أَنْ يَكُونَ سَمْحًا بِبَذْلِ مَا حَصَّلَهُ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ سَهْلًا عَلَى مُبْتَغِيهِ متلطفا في إفادته طالبيه مع رفق ونصيحة وإرشاد إلى المهمات وتحريض على حفظ ما يبذره له من الفوائد. So he says, now that it's incumbent for him likewise, for the teacher, to be very kind and to be generous and to be easy in giving them the knowledge that he has. And teaching them and delivering to them the knowledge that he has, or presenting to them the knowledge that he has. He will do this in an easy manner, and for those who are seeking it, and he will be kind, and he will be gentle whenever he's benefiting the students, and he will have gentleness, and he will be sincere in his advice, and he will direct them to that which is most important. And he will direct them to that which is most important. And indeed, no doubt, this is from the beneficial advice, because sometimes the students, maybe they will do their own research, or they will have some of their own understanding about a particular book that they should start, or they will have a desire that they want to read this book or read that book, or they want to study this book or study that book, or go over this knowledge and that knowledge. And then if the teacher were to look at the circumstance of the student, he will see that that book is not suitable for him. That book is not suitable for him. Either it's way beyond his level, or it's not proper for him, or there is another book that is more beneficial for him, and the likes like this. So the teacher, he will guide the student in this manner. And this is also from the benefit and the wisdom of having a teacher, because the teacher, he has experience with knowledge, and he has experience with seeking knowledge, and he has experience with the avenues of knowledge. Maybe sometimes a particular individual, a student, he will be devoted to knowledge, meaning he will be diligent to learn, and he will be strong in memorization, and he will have determination, and he'll pick a particular text to memorize, and he will think that that is good. And no doubt, memorizing the knowledge is beneficial, but maybe there's a text that's more beneficial. And if a person, he spent all of his time and his effort memorizing a particular text, and then come to find out there are texts that precede that, then it would be considered a fault and a blame. For example, if somebody memorized one of the big long poems and the likes like this in knowledge, which is encompassing and the likes like this, and then he meets one of the scholars, and the scholar says to him, "What did you memorize?" He said, "I memorized this line, this poetry, and that poetry, and 100 lines, 500 lines, 800 lines like this." And they say, "What about, okay, let me hear Usul al-Thalatha." He said, "Oh, let me hear the 40 hadith of Nawawi." The teacher or the sheikh is gonna be like, well, you waste all your time memorizing this, and you didn't memorize the usul, you didn't memorize the fundamentals and the foundations that whole lines, all of these lines of poetry are based upon. And in order to understand these lines of poetry in the first place, you need these keys and the likes like this. So the point is now that the student, he has to be directed to that which is most important and that which is most beneficial for him. Or maybe the student, he wants to memorize a particular text. But come to find out, the people of knowledge don't have much care and concern for that text. Maybe this particular text, it doesn't have a lot of explanations. Maybe there's another text that's similar to that one that has lots of explanations. For example, maybe he'll want to memorize, for example, Al-Muntaqa, And this one has some explanation, but it's very difficult and hard. And on the other hand, there is another text that's similar to that called Bulugh al-Maram, and it has plenty of explanations. And the scholars have shown great care and concern for that. You can find written explanations for it. You can find audios for it. You can find people explaining it now and the likes like this. So this particular text here of that science, the scholars had great care and concern for that. So this is an indication of the virtue of this text over the other text. So there's some, for example, books or texts that would be memorized that the people of knowledge didn't, they respect them and they're aware of them, but they didn't give them the concern and the care and the diligence to explain them or to correct them or to identify them and the likes like this, like they did others. So therefore he will not go to the one that is not worked on or not well known to the people of knowledge and leave off that which is famous and well known. And likewise, again, this can be a sign of having a bad intention in seeking knowledge. All of the people are memorizing Bulugh al-Maram, for example, or all of the people are memorizing Umdat al-Ahkam, for example, or 40 hadith, for example, who said, I'm going to memorize this. I'm going to be different. I'm going to memorize something different. I'm going to memorize something different, like this, and then the order for him to be known. Yeah, oh, I memorized that. Oh, they're memorizing this. No, I memorized this and this and this. To be different, so that he'll stand out, so that he'll be known. So that he'll be known. This is called from the Gharaib al-Ilm. And the people of knowledge of hadith, they used to blame that. Individuals that would search for these chains of narration that were strange and not well known. And the likes like this, they're considered Gharaib. And the likes, and many times they'll be weak. Many times they'll be weak. Those type of people, they were considered blameworthy. And they'll try to have, أَنَّهُمْ يُغْرِبُونَ عَنِ النَّاسِ. They'll try to have something what everybody else doesn't have in order to be known or in order to have position and likes like this. So the point is now that the teacher is going to direct the student and to advise him to that which is most important for him. And many times a student, especially in the beginning, he does not know what's best for him. He does not know what's best for him. He has a lot of determination, maybe. He has a lot of ability, likewise, from the blessing of Allah. If that's not directed properly, he can waste a lot of time on the path of seeking knowledge. So also that's from the benefit of being directed to a person of sunnah, a person who has experience with knowledge, who can cut the path for him. Why are you memorizing that? Memorize this. Knock this out. This is small and little, but it's a foundation. You can finish this in a few weeks, and then move to the next one, and then move to the next one, and eventually you'll make it to this one. But first, you start with that which is small, and that which is little, and that which is considered foundations. And there's nothing light in Islam. So somebody may consider the 40 hadith, this is something little, but these are the best and from the greatest narrations that all of the rest of the narrations go back to. The one who memorized these narrations and understood them, the majority of the rest of the narrations are clarified or returning back to the issues discussed here. The issues discussed here. So this will be a foundation and a fundamental for him. Sheikh Abdul Razak, Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, with regards to the 40 hadith, he mentioned one time he went to another country in Africa. And whenever he's there, he's teaching the 40 hadith. But what he started doing, in every single hadith that he's teaching, he's looking at the ills of the society. And he started rectifying the mistakes in aqeedah, and the mistakes in manners and behavior, and the mistakes in worship, just with these 40 hadith. Whenever some of the students that were close to him figured out what he's doing, they started coming, oh, in this village they're doing this, and that village they're doing that. So by the time he finished the 40 hadith, he had already corrected many of the misunderstandings and clarified many of the doubts and the shubuhat that the people in that society have just by understanding these fundamentals here. These fundamentals here. And so the point is that to understand the principles and to build a foundation of knowledge, this is what is most important. And the people of knowledge and the teachers and the likes who have experience, they know that. They know that. As for the student, he doesn't necessarily know that. Or maybe he does know that, but if he's left to himself, he's going to يتلخبط. He's going to go this way sometime, go that way sometime. Maybe he'll listen to this class, and then he'll stop, and then he'll go to this class. Or he'll start memorizing this book, and then he'll go a little ways, and he'll stop, and he'll go to this book, and the likes like this. But had he taken the knowledge little by little, from the foundation after foundation, building with that which is most important, and then after that, then he would have a great benefit after some time. Then he'll have great benefit after some time. Maybe another person, he wants to memorize something or study a particular sharh or explanation, and maybe that's beneficial, but in his community and in his vicinity, there's another explanation being taught right now by the teacher in the masjid, for example. So if for example, then in the masjid they're teaching this particular book, then he will not go to the other book, and he's gonna in his community and in his vicinity right now, there's a book that's being explained. So he will go and get in with that which is available now. There, he will not leave that and go somewhere else and try to read by himself or study by himself and the likes like this. And the one who studies by himself, he will not get any down the road in the manner that's proper. He will not get and down the road of knowledge and the manner that is proper. Many times he will make mistakes and he will misunderstand, and he will not have the strong foundations that he needs to become a strong student. So there must be a teacher, and from the wisdom of that is because the teacher, he's going to direct him to that which is most important. He says likewise to encourage him to memorize the knowledge and the benefits that he's giving them. Encouraging them to memorize the knowledge and the benefits that he's giving them, especially some of the benefits that are not directly in the text and the likes like this. And the teacher, many times, he will mention benefits that are not found in the particular work, or they're not found in a particular book that the student has the ability to find. The teacher, he would have the ability to go into the belly of the books and the likes like this, where he has already benefited from a number of scholars and the likes like this, and study works before that he's aware of certain principles, or aware of certain narrations, aware of certain foundations and the likes like this, that the student, he did not yet get the ability to go there. He has not studied with those scholars, or he has not studied those works or completed those works, or he's not able or qualified now to read the likes of those books. He doesn't know how to dive into those books and find those benefits. Sometimes a book, maybe it has 45 volumes. Maybe one book has 45 volumes. Some of the books have 600 pages. So he doesn't have the ability to go into 45 volumes. Rather, he doesn't have the ability to go into one volume and between 500 pages and find that benefit that he's looking for. So the teacher, he has that ability. So he will be able to bring these benefits. So these benefits that come like this from the teacher, the student, he should be diligent to take them down and to benefit from them, because he's not able to get there yet. Or maybe the teacher will mention the benefit, maybe it's right in front of his face in the same book. Maybe it's right in front of his face in the same book. Or it's a benefit that the student, he already knows, or he has the ability to review and study. He's aware of that. But the teacher, he will mention that benefit in the word of the student, and in the language of the student. He will rearrange the wording of the benefit from the wording of the scholars, especially of the scholars of the past, for example, and he will put it and present it to the student in a manner that he understands and that he comprehends. So therefore, these are great benefits that are coming from the teacher, and that are coming from the teacher. So the student, he should take advantage of that. And many times, maybe he will read a narration, and he will not understand that. And then the teacher, he'll mention it to him, and now it'll be clear as daylight. The teacher, he will untie those knots that are in his understanding, and it'll become clear as daylight for him. And before that, he did not necessarily comprehend and understand the meaning of this because of one word or the context, or because of a word is here and normally he's supposed to be in the end, or so on and so forth. And the teacher, he will untie all of that and clarify that for them in a brief moment, because of his experience and because of his knowledge of the fundamentals, alhamdulillah. So therefore, the students, they take advantage of those benefits, and they should write them down, and they should memorize them and learn them. Sometimes, likewise, the teacher, he'll bring benefits. Sometimes the teacher will bring benefits that you cannot find them in a book. These are benefits from his own experience and knowledge, and from pondering and reflecting over affairs and issues that he's experienced with knowledge, and that he has acquired himself, and that he has seen in his life. And the likes like this, that a student, he will not be able to find them in a book. He'll not be able to find them in a book. It's just strictly from his experience with knowledge, benefits, and the likes like this. So these benefits that come from the teacher, they're gems, no doubt. And he's saying here now that the teacher would encourage them to memorize and to take advantage of those benefits that he's giving to them. He says, وَلَا يُدَخِّرُ عَنْهُمْ مِنْ أَنْوَاعِ الْعِلْمِ شَيْئًا يَحْتَاجُونَ إِلَيْهِ إِذَا كَانَ الطَّالِبُ أَهْلًا لِذَلِكَ. So he says, and likewise, he will not hold back any types of knowledge that those students are in need of if they are qualified for that. He will not hold back. He will not hold back. If the student is qualified, he will not hold back benefits. Rather, he will give all of that. وَلَا تَكْتُمُونَ. He will not conceal that. So if he sees that his students are capable of certain benefits, then they're qualified now to receive them, he'll give them to them. And this is the methodology and the behavior of a good teacher. A good teacher who knows how to teach, he's going to keep the student learning. That's his job. His hope and his aim and his goal is that the student is learning. It's called tarbiyah. He's cultivating him. So he's going to give the student enough that he keeps going. If he gives him too much, it's going to be heavy for him and stop him and slow him down. If he doesn't give him enough, he's going to get bored and he's going to go somewhere else. So the teacher, he has to know his students, and he has to look at their level, and he has to do his best to keep them moving, to keep cultivating them and keep them growing. So he will see that if they are in need of a particular knowledge or they are qualified now to learn the next level of knowledge, he will give them that in order to keep them moving and to keep them growing and learning and going down the path of knowledge. Again, as for if he gave them too much or that which they're not qualified for, this could harm them. This could harm them to cause them to have misunderstandings. This could harm them to become too heavy for them and to leave knowledge entirely. This could harm them in a number of ways to cause them to have doubts and the likes like this because they're not qualified to understand these particular issues yet. Because knowledge, it has foundations and principles and keys. So he has to be aware of these affairs. Also, if he didn't give them enough, then maybe they're going to get bored and maybe they're going to be like, this is too easy, I'm not benefiting in the life like this, and it's going to delay them in their process. So he has to keep them moving, according to their level and their ability. So this likewise, again, is some very beneficial advice. So he says that he will not withhold any knowledge whatsoever that they are in need of if the student is qualified for that. Meaning if he's not qualified that, then he will not give it to them. He will not give it to them. This is what he says. وَلَا يُلْقِي عَلَيْهِ شَيْئًا لَمْ يَتَأَهَّلْ لَهُ. And he will not give him any knowledge that the student's not qualified for. And for example, what I have learned from our Mashaykh in Medina, that they will mention before a student should read the book Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya. The book Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya, it's about this long, by Ibn Kathir. It's approximately 18 big fat volumes. Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya, and this is what it's about, the beginning and the end. From the beginning of the creation till the time of Ibn Kathir, rahimahullah ta'ala, and discussing all the affairs and the events of Islamic history that happened. So many events, and this year entered, and this happened, and so was born, and so died, and this happened, and this event happened. The people of knowledge, they say, before you should ever embark upon reading this book, you have to first have the strong aqidah. You first have to have the strong aqidah salafiyya, and also you need to know some mustalah hadith. And that's after learning the Arabic language, of course. You also have to have knowledge of hadith, because why would you have to have strong aqidah? Because maybe there's going to be shubuhat that will come to you. There are events that happen in the history of Islam where fitna occurred, great trials occurred. If a person, he doesn't have the proper creed and proper belief, he could be misled by that. He can misunderstand that. He could fall into the ideology of the Khawarij. He could be tried by that. Or he could fall into the ideology of the Rawafid and think bad about some of the companions, or misunderstand these affairs or the fitna that occurred between some of the companions. What is the proper creed? The creed in the heart of a believer with regards to that. Before reading those affairs and reading the details of those affairs, he has to know the proper belief so that he's not affected by that. Likewise, he has to have some knowledge of narrations and mustalah hadith, because he's going to mention narrations there. Some of them are lies, and he knows that. He's mentioning that, but maybe he will mention chains, or he'll mention other issues in the likes like this. And many of the affairs that are ascribed to those fitan specifically that happened to the companions, many of that is lies. Much of that is lies that occur between two of them. Some of it is true, and a lot of it is lies. So he has to have some fundamental knowledge and instrumental knowledge, the keys of knowledge, in order to understand these affairs, so he will not be harmed. He'll not be harmed and misinterpret or misunderstand that which is found in the likes of these large and major books. So, again, becoming qualified before advancing upon these affairs. Maybe he'll read in the books of fiqh the difference of opinions, but he doesn't know how to understand them. He'll misunderstand them. He'll misinterpret them. Or even, it could be even worse than that, reading in some of the books of some of the scholars who had bad manners and the likes like this, like Ibn Hazm, rahimahullah. It's known that he had a harsh tongue on some of the opinions and the positions. If he was raised upon that book and he thought that was the correct way, then he will be like some of these people today, that all they can do is blame and find fault and speak ill of the most noble of the scholars that are alive today. And this is not right likewise. So first to be cultivated upon knowledge. And this is the job of the teacher, to cultivate the student, to not put them into something they're not qualified for. For example, the fitna and the likes like this. Many people, they're not qualified for that. For example, if somebody says, what do you say about Sheikh so-and-so? And then he says, who is that? He said, you better say it, or I'm going to tell you this and that and this and that. So now you're putting him in this affair. He's not qualified. He didn't even know the man's name. If you tell him the man's name, maybe he don't even know enough Arabic, he can't even say the word right. But he's going to force him to take a position and force him to get involved, and he's going to make an allegiance and a wallah wa bara for that. And what kind of stuff is this? What kind of deen is that? And this is not proper. These people have no knowledge of these affairs. Maybe he don't even know how to make wudu. Maybe he don't know how to pray. Maybe he don't even know the names and attributes of Allah Azza wa Jalla. You're going to throw him in this affair and force him to take a position. Many times, so the likes of these people, they leave the Sunnah, or they go into the hands of the Hizbis, or some of them they even disbelieve and they make apostation, waliyadu billah, because of this foul way. Because of this foul way. A good teacher, he's going to be concerned about his students, and he's going to raise them and help them. The knowledge that they can carry and the knowledge that they can bear, that they're qualified for, he'll give it to them. And the knowledge that will harm them, and the knowledge that is not beneficial for them, or the knowledge that they're not qualified for, he will not give it to them. He will not give it to them. So he says, وَلَا يُلْقِي إِلَيْهِ شَيْئًا لَمْ يَتَأَهَّ لَهُ لِأَلَّا يُفْسِدَ عَلَيْهِ حَالَهُ. So he will not give him any knowledge that he's not qualified for, so he will not corrupt his situation. And a person become corrupted if he receives knowledge he's not qualified for. فَلَوْ سَأَلَهُ الْمُتَعَلِّمُ عَنْ ذَلِكَ لَمْ يُجِبْهُ وَيُعَرِّفُهُ أن منعه ليس شحا بل شفقة ولطفا. And he says now that he will not give him the knowledge he's not qualified for, in order to not corrupt this person. And if the student asks the teacher about the likes of this knowledge, he will not respond to him. He will not answer him. He will not give him the answer to this particular question. And along with that, he will tell him that he's not doing this because he's being stingy with the knowledge, or he doesn't know the answer, but because he's having mercy and pity on him, and he's not qualified for this knowledge yet, and he'll direct him to that which is most proper. He'll direct him to that which is most proper. And this is from the advice of the scholars. So he says, وَيَنْبَغِي أَلَّا يَتَعَظَّمَ عَلَى الْمُتَعَلِّمِينَ بَلْ يَلِينُ لَهُمْ وَيَتَوَاضَعُ وَفِي التَّنْزِيلِ الْكَرِيمِ وَاخْفِضْ جَنَاحَكَ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. He says, and it's incumbent that he will not be arrogant and pride. He will not be arrogant and proud, against the students, displaying that he's better than them. Rather, he'll be humble. He'll be humble with the students, just has come in the noble revelation. وَاخْفِضْ جَنَاحَكَ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has said that you must lower the wing of mercy and humbleness to the believers. So if this is a command that a person, he must lower the wing of humility and humbleness and kindness to the general believers, then the students of knowledge have more right for that. The students of knowledge have more right for that. The Prophet is being commanded here, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, وَاخْفِضْ أنت وَاخْفِضْ جَنَاحَكَ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ, and lower the wing of kindness and mercy and humbleness to the believers. So if we are ordered to follow the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in this, and to be humble and to be kind and merciful with the believers, then the students of knowledge from the believers even more rightful. Then the students of knowledge from the believers even more rightful. And this is going to be by giving them salam, and by not belittling them, and by listening to their complaints, or by accepting their advices if their advice is in the proper place, or listening to their advices and redirecting them if he finds it's not in its proper place, and by giving them the ear, and by spending time with them and sitting with them, and the likes like this, in the class, outside of the class, maybe giving them personal time. All of this is a type or means of having being humble with the students, or cooperating with them upon other affairs of righteousness and goodness outside of the class, and the likes like this, being amongst them, and not displaying to them that he is above them, not making them feel like he is above them and they are below him. Rather, he will make them feel like he's one of them. And this is the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he would sit in a gathering with his companions, and somebody would come and not know who he was. They wouldn't know which one was the messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam from the rest of them, because they're sitting all together in the likes like this. And the one who's coming and didn't know him from the beginning, and the likes like this, because he would sit amongst them as if he's from them, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is a beautiful affair. This is something likewise I remember now that I witnessed in Al-Madinah a number of times. It's been witnessed also in other places as well, from those who were well known for that, not in Medina but actually from Kuwait, Sheikh Falah al-Mundakar. that is mentioned whenever Sheikh Suleiman and the likes or other scholars from Medina would come to Kuwait and they would give seminars there. Sheikh Falah al-Mundakar, rahimahullah, he's very old. He's very old. He would be sitting amongst the students with a pen and a paper, writing and taking notes. Writing and taking notes. And maybe he is 20, 30 years older than the one who's giving the class and the likes like this, but he would be amongst the students. He is their sheikh and the likes like this. He would be amongst them, writing and taking notes. Writing and taking notes. Likewise, Sheikh Hassan al-Banna, rahimahullah ta'ala. I remember whenever I was in the 4th Mustawa and we're studying Sunan Abi Dawood with Sheikh Muhammad. This was in like maybe 2014. All of a sudden, a man comes in with a wheelchair and we look up and it's Sheikh Hassan al-Banna. And he comes and he sits in the classroom with us. He seeks permission. He said, "Yeah, Sheikh, excuse me, can I sit in class with you and learn?" And the Sheikh, he looks at him, he's like, "I don't know what our father wants to learn from me, but no doubt." He goes over there and kisses him on his head. The same evening, we'll be sitting later on that night in the gathering of Sheikh Abdul Muhsin. We look over and he's there in the gathering. And then after Isha, we go to another masjid in another area, and he comes there likewise. And he's old. He's in his 80. He's like 80 years old, rahimahullah ta'ala, traveling around from dars to dars in a wheelchair, sitting with the students of knowledge. Sitting with the students of knowledge. And we all know who Shaykh Hassan al-Banna is, rahimahullah ta'ala. So this is something that they would humble themselves. They would be amongst the students like this. They would humble themselves in this manner. Likewise, a number of times we would have individuals who are sitting in the class with us, with Sheikh in Sheikh Abdul Muhsin's class. People that we know them by their faces because they're always in the class. Come to find out, this person wound up being my teacher in the Kuliya. He's a doctor and he's from the Mashayikh, but we never knew. We thought he's just one of the students. But in reality, he's one of the doctors and professors in the Kuliya and the likes like this. We were looking at him, he's our teacher now. I was like, "Oh, that's the brother who was always sitting in the class in this position in that one place over there, like this." And meaning that they're humble and they continue to seek knowledge. This is a beautiful thing. A beautiful thing. So now he says, rahimahullah ta'ala, وينبغي أن يكون حريصا على تعليمهم مهتما به مؤثرا له على حوائج نفسه ويرحب بهم عند إقبالهم إليه ويظهر لهم البشر وطلاقة الوجه ويحسن إليهم بعلمه وماله وجاهه ولا يخاطب الفاضل منهم باسمه بل بكنيته. So now he says, rahimahullah, that it's incumbent for the teacher likewise that he should be diligent in teaching them and cultivating them and raising them. That he should be diligent in this affair and he should be concerned with them. And that he should show preference to them over his own needs. That he should show preference to them over his own needs. And he should prefer his students over his own self. And meaning many times maybe he will want to spend time doing a lot of other things, but he will think about his students and the classes that he has, and he will busy himself in preparation for that. And he'll busy himself in preparation for that and hopes to benefit them in a better manner. And maybe he wants to go do something with his family, or maybe he wants to relax, or maybe many things that he could do besides, and he busy himself preparing for the particular lesson or the issues that he's going to teach for his students. But he will leave those things off that his desire wants, or that rest that he needs. Maybe he will not sleep at nighttime because of the class that's happening in the morning, or the next day, or because of the affairs that he's facing, and the likes like this. And it will disturb him, it will bother him, and he will not be able to rest, and the likes like this. And then he will prepare and make the preparation, showing preference for the students and for the classes that are at hand. This is what he's mentioning here. This is how he should be, and he should welcome them, and he should show them great care and concern in teaching them. And he should display to them that he's happy to teach them. He should display to them a cheerful face, and he should smile, and he should be happy to teach them. So teaching, no doubt, is from the highest rank in the deen. The teachers have from the highest level. It has been narrated by Abi Umama radiallahu anhu. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "Inna Allah wa malaikatahu wa ahla as-samawati wal aradhin hatta an-namlah fi hujriha hatta al-hut la yusalluna ala muallim an-nas al-khayr." That indeed Allah and His angels and the inhabitants of the heavens and the earth, and even the ant and its hole, and likewise the fish, meaning in the sea, they all send a salat on the teacher, the one who teaches the people goodness. Ala muallim an-nas al-khayr. And this is a high rank and a high level and a high status. A high rank and a high level and a high status. and a great reward and a great virtue. So therefore, the teacher, he should realize that. He should realize that. And he should know that virtue that he has. And he should be thankful for that. And he should strive to teach those who are standing in front of him in the most truthful and the best manner, displaying the blessing of Allah upon him. And displaying the blessing of Allah upon him and having concern and care and being happy to teach them. Being happy that they're coming, being happy that they're concerned, being happy that they're listening and asking questions, or that they're looking for the proof, or they're looking for another answer, or being happy that they're interested in this affair. And so he would teach them in this manner. And like this, wallahi, Shaykh Sulaiman, I can't remember him teaching except he's smiling. Except he's smiling. Whenever he's sitting in front of you, he's teaching you and he's smiling, a very big smile. That's something hard to do all of the time. That's something hard to do all the time, but that's something that he was known for. That's something that he's known for, that whenever he's teaching you, he's smiling at you. He's smiling at you from his good manners, and he's happy to be there and to have that position and taking advantage of that and trying to benefit the believers the best that he can for the sake of Allah. So this is likewise a beautiful manner and beautiful conduct, that he will display the happiness and joy that he has to be in that position, and he will be good to them and be kind to them with his knowledge and with his wealth and with his rank and with his status in the society, and he being kind to them with his knowledge, and giving them as much as they can bear and much as they can carry, and seeing the one that needs more and that can carry more, he will give him more knowledge. He will give him more knowledge and more benefit, and the likes like this. And likewise with his wealth, if he's able to help them with his wealth, or if he's able to help them with his position and status, he's able to recommend them, or he's able to help get them a position, or he's able to help find them students if he's qualified, and the likes like this. The teacher, he will help his students, and he will raise them, and the likes like this. If he sees one of his students that's strong, then maybe he will help him and make an intercession on behalf of him to get him accepted in a university, or to get him a position in the masjid teaching the children, or teaching the Quran, or something that he's qualified to do. And in the likes like this, he will take his position in the society and help his students in that manner, and help his students in that manner. Or maybe he knows one of his students is in trouble, or one of his students is struggling financially, and the likes like this. And maybe the teacher, he doesn't have the money to help him, but he knows people who do. He will go to them and use his position with those people to help his student. All of this is from the noble and the good manners and the care and concern the teacher he would have for a student. He says, and likewise he would not speak to the virtuous students and call him by his name. Rather, he will call him by his kunya. By his kunya. And this is a type of honor. And this is from the way of the Arab, and likewise after that, the way of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And likewise the way of the scholars of hadith, that if they want to honor a person, they call him by his kunya. Ya Abu Fulan, or Ya Fulan, like this for the sisters. And this is a beautiful way to call people by their kunya in order to respect them. In order to respect them. So the people of knowledge, they mention with this likewise that as for the people of innovation, you do not call them by their kunya. The people of innovation, you do not call them by their kunya because you do not respect them in that manner like this. The people who are known for innovation and their deviation and likes like this, you want to call them by their kunya. As for the people of the sunnah, or especially those who have honor and respect, to call them by the kunya, this is something good. He's advising the teacher now to mention those virtuous students from amongst them to call on them by their kunya. He says, وَيَنْبَغِي أَنْ يَتَفَقَّدَهُمْ وَيَسْأَلَ عَمَّنْ غَابَ مِنْهُمْ. And likewise, it's incumbent for him to look for them. And if they're missing, if they don't come for a class or two, if it's a student that normally comes and he's there often, then he will ask. And if he's absent, meaning if he's absent for some time, if he's absent for some time, he will ask about them, and he will check on them. I remember now a benefit with regards to the poem that we took yesterday. If we have 10 minutes to talk about that, it's okay. It related to the kunya. Actually, we were discussing this morning with some of the brothers likewise. The poem that we mentioned yesterday, whenever he's calling, who did he call? أبا بكر دعوتك لو أجبت إلى ما فيه حظك إن أقلت إلى علم تكون به إماما مطاعا إن نهيت وإن أمرت, and to the end of that, and to the end of that. Yani, there are so many benefits in this particular poem for many aspects, and from that is the Arabic language. And actually, the first time I was introduced to this poem, I remember this morning. We're talking with the brothers. The first time I was introduced to this poem was in Markaz Al-Ibana, and in Cairo, and we're learning the Arabic language. And this was in a little bit higher mustawa, but they chose these lines here, these first few lines, to teach us benefits from the Arabic language, benefits about sarf, and benefits about nahu, and benefits about balagha, and the likes like that. From that is that we learned the ism maksur here. وَلَمْ يَشْغَلَكَ أَنْهُ هَوًا مُطَاعٌ. Hawan muta'un. So muta'un is the nat, it has a dhamma, but the word before it, the man'ud, it has a fatha. So maybe a student of knowledge will say, why is that? Hawan muta'un. Why isn't it hawan muta'an, for example? But there's rulings here and benefits here in the Arabic language. And there's other benefits likewise. But the one that I remembered this morning, and remember why he wrote the poem. We remember the man, he talked bad about him, so he went to advise him. But how did he advise him? In the most easy way, in the most beautiful way. And likewise, from this issue here, he said, Aba Bakrin, da'utuka law ajabta. He didn't say, Ya Aba Bakrin. Ya Aba Bakrin. The harfun nida is whenever you use this now to call somebody. You use this now to call somebody. But when do you say, yeah? Like, for example, if somebody is back there in the back, we say, Ya Zaid. Ya Zaid. So we use ya when he's far away. Ya Zaid. We'll raise our voice like that to get his attention and call him. If he's close, we say, Ah Zaid. حذف حرف النداء يدل على قرب المنادى من المنادي. على قرب المنادى من المنادي. This is the fa'idah. So whatever this harf ya is deleted, this indicates that the one who is being called is close to the one who's calling. So he called him in this manner like this, Aba Bakrin. Meaning you're close to me. You're not far from me. He called him this, he called him that, he said he's this, he said he's that. He exposed him and his faults. And then whenever he talks to him, Aba Bakrin. دعوتك لو أجبت. And this is from the beautiful manners of the Arabic language and the beautiful manners of speaking and addressing people and the beautiful manners of knowledge. So this benefit here, I wanted to mention that. There was one more benefit likewise. Whenever he mentioned about the Taj, which line was that? وتحمل منه في ناديك تاجا. And the knowledge, وَتَحْمِلُ مِنْهُ فِي نَادِيكَ تَاجًا. That you will, whenever you're in your gatherings, the knowledge, it will be a crown on your head. It will be a crown on your head. And the ones who wear the crowns are the kings. The ones who wear the crowns are the kings. So the crown is a means of adornment. And it will beautify him and his appearance and his manners and his conduct amongst this gathering. And likewise, the crown is a sign of authority. A sign of authority. So he'll likewise have authority. He referred to that likewise before that. What was that? مطاعًا إن نهيت وإن أمرت. The people will obey you whenever you prohibit them and command them. So he has authority and it's obeyed. And this is all from knowledge. There's a narration about Abdullah ibn Mubarak rahimahullah ta'ala. He died at the year 181. Whenever he came into this particular town, I forget the name of the town now. Inshallah, I'll review. I was reading it yesterday. It's in Tariq al-Baghdad. Also Ibn Kathir, he mentioned it in Bidayah wa Nihaya. The point is now, whenever he came into town, when Abdullah ibn Mubarak, he came into town, all of the people, they rush him. All of the people, they're coming out of the streets. And Abdullah Mubarak is coming, the great scholar of hadith, the great scholar of the sunnah. They're all coming out of the streets and rushing him. And there's a woman. And she's looking out the window. She's like, what's going on? What's happening here? What's going on outside? And they told her, he said, oh, that's Abdullah ibn Mubarak. And she says, Wallahi, hada huwa al-mulk. She said, I swear by Allah, that is the kingdom and authority. La mulk Harun wa amthali. Not the kingdom of Harun. Harun Rashid, he was the Khalifa. He was the one who had the authority. He is the king, yani, of the Muslim empire. But she said, Wallahi hada huwa al-mulk. This is the true kingdom. This is the true authority. This is the true rank and status. And the status of knowledge. The status of knowledge. وَتَحْمِلُ مِنْهُ فِي نَادِيكَ تَاجًا. Tajan. These are great benefits from the likes of that poem that I remember today. I wanted to share with you. May Allah accept from all of us. هذا وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.